You are watching Xirtus.
I believe that everything is meant to be and meant to eventually sound very similar. There's something in history, there's something in the changing of things, there's something in how it gets changed into different languages, and then what becomes the most important language and how it ends up being said, that is also meant by God. And so and then there's details in it, but it's also stuff that I don't even know if I have it in this presentation or another one or whatever. But yeah, we'll talk about that more and why it is that I see that there being maybe more of a connection than most would say that there was supposed to be. At least I think that it was meant to down the line. Like everything, the way we've moved forward is all unraveling a certain way for a certain outcome. And yeah, without getting into it too deep, we'll go into that some other time, and then share our two different viewpoints on it. We can get into some of the details of why it is that I feel the symbology and other ways of viewing it kind of lend to me believing that there's a closer connection than maybe. Uh,
Well,
yeah,
certainly for going forward, when something becomes like, even if something is like not the original formation of something, when people start to create out of a substance or create out of a substance, going forward, sometimes people make those associations. I mean, certainly different sounds create different feelings in us. So
yeah,
there's something to what you're saying there, in terms of
yeah,
the sonorous quality of the ornaments of sound, how the words create feelings within us.
yeah.
Um,
We're all God, and everything is being created as we move, as we speak, and as we change things and readjust them. And I feel that there's something in that it's meant to be, right? But I would love to get into the details of what you're talking about, because I don't have that understanding of
yeah,
what
it's
it.
just a distinction between shabda and artha, like shabda being the sound of a word and artha being the meanings of words.
Yeah,
So because poetry makes use of both, right? Because poetry makes use of the sounds that words have, but it
yeah,
also makes use of the semantics or the meanings of the words.
yeah. I find it even interesting. I forget what it's called in English, but like two words that are are explaining something different but are spelt the same, like lead and lead, right? And
Like,
tears and tear, right?
yeah, like a big one that people get wrong in the Sanskrit one is they think that Kali Yuga is Kali Ma, but it's not. There's like a dwarf, like a dark dwarf
LOL.
named Kali. Like, it's not Kali, but Kali. It's just
Yeah,
like, for the Indians, they would never have a problem with this. And then when they hear that we have a problem and we think Kali Yuga is Kali Ma, then they're like, what? Like, they don't get it. They're like,
yeah,
it's a totally different word. And I'm like, I'm married to an Indian. So like, I'm like, I know to you, they're like, you perceive like the hard I and the hard A, like kal is like time, but like kol,
yeah,
is different. Like, to them, it's like totally different. Like, there's us and their ahs are just like different letters, but for
yeah. And
like
then Kalki and all that stuff, California.
California, or
I
it's
would
like,
say that there is a connection between them all. There was at least meant to be nowadays, but I get it. Yeah, that it was
black
never.
is, yeah, there with the ka. Certainly
Yeah,
the first letter ka is
I like to argue the same as Giant here, though, that like coincidences are just a little bit more than coincidences. There's just people don't like to admit it, but there's something to that. It's hard not to notice that. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just
There's
I'm just
always some
arguing
sort of
for like
connection.
the adequate hermeneutical effort to like actually interpret the because if we're gonna, here's the thing. So like when people do like comparative religions, like they start like blending everything together into like a smoothie. It's like a fruit smoothie. It's all like homogenized. But like if you get more
Yeah.
technical or scholarly, what you're actually trying to do is you are trying to dice it up, but not that finely, so that you can still retain some features of the original, so you can track it like across time, so like diachronically. But it is possible to do a synchronic reading after one achieves like the fidelity in like both of the traditions that you're trying to like bring together in dialogue. um,
Yeah,
but yeah, there's
I
like diachronic reading and then there's synchronic reading,
yeah, and I believe a lot of the stuff I do is kind of a blending. If you'll notice across the board, and you ever heard of the medicine Buddha?
Yeah, Land of the Medicine Buddha in Santa Cruz.
Of course.
Yeah, so the medicine Buddha, the story behind that medicine Buddha is that it's a very specific Buddha that is promising to mix the medicine bowl, which is all of us have to mix over time. We get mixed in, and eventually the antidote is, made through the mixing of all of our energies over time. So all the evil, good, in between, all that stuff needs to, hit off each other, have experiences so that the ultimate God or Buddha can have that feedback and know how to make that perfect antidote for the end times. And so I believe that's kind of a little bit of why it is that I think these things were meant to be mixed and eventually connected in, and it took time to get there. But you also want to, that's what I say to people, like, we should allow all the original countries to keep their genetics going, and we should have the Americas as the mixing pot, right? Like, you should always keep the old and the original. You want to keep all that stuff so
Like
it's not lost.
Preserved.
Yeah. And then there's a place where you take it and you mix it all together and you see what you can come out with. But let's say it doesn't come out right, then you want to be able to go back to the original ingredients and bring them back in and try again. So I like both ends of that. I definitely believe that like the Southern Indian stuff got preserved, that information, which, thank God. And a lot of stuff, got saved through encoding it and stuff like that. So thank God that we have something from the ancient past to hold on to. So I wouldn't want to,
I'm not trying to blend it, but yeah. I think we all should be like ecumenically minded, right? Like, who you had someone on, Andreas, who was his name? He was kind of he was pretty based, actually. The dude with what's his name, Butler. I like that guy.
DJ Butler, yeah. DJ Butler's great.
I liked his ecumenism, where he's like, like ecumenical could be any tradition, right? Like, how good is your, how's your ability to digest other traditions, when they bring new horizons into the picture,
Yeah, that's what us Americans are supposed to be doing, I believe.
Yeah, I definitely think there should be a comparative religion, or we actually need something better than comparative religion, because you're not just like comparing, but we need like some kind of level of synchronic, but like without the pitfalls of like perennialism. But like here's like, for me, like the most like basic links that I can suss out is like, you have like a Hura Mazda, right? Like in like the Persian. And it does like an inversion of the Indian thing. So like the devas become the devs, like they're the devils or something. So like it's like a flip. I talked to this Kurdish guy, and he says that actually like the Persian Empire was formed by like a long time ago. At least he's like Kurdish from like the village, like mountain people, like nowhere land. So like not central Iranian Persian Empire. I guess they define themselves as different, but their view was that there was some big clash with like an avatar named Parashuram, and then like some of the kings like fled. And then that this actually formed like the Persian Empire. But there's always been this fight between like these devas and these asura, or the suras and the asura. So like you could see how like if you're on the side of the asura, then you're going to be seeing like these suras or the devas as like inimical. And then so there's like a flip that happens somewhere between like India and Persia, and then like everything like is like a mirrored out like a version. So that's like, that's where I think is like a big, I would love to learn like old Persian or middle Persian, or and then learn some cuneiform or something. But
what I see it as is that there was a conflict, and then where do you start getting the first empires? You start getting it in the Middle East and Persia and stuff like that, media area that I feel they were trying to snuff out the truth, right? The good information, the opposing side, like you said, you can choose a side, but the opposing side was trying to make the other side look like they were the bad ones, right? Like I argue that Cain and Abel, that Abel is like a Bell character, and Cain is actually the good guy in the story, and they wanted to flip that on purpose. I think they did a lot of things in our Western Bible and stuff like that is an obvious flip of the information. So I see it as they were going after these Zoroastrian guys that held the flame of truth, and they were trying to create an empire to go and track them all down and start grabbing them up and taking information from them. And they also wanted the prophets, they wanted the magi and stuff like that to work for them and be able to interact with the gods or God or whatever. And these guys started slowly trying to get away, and then you got the Sarmatians and all this stuff that, you know, start coming out of there, even the Greeks, the ancient Greeks and stuff like that, all trying to fight against this thing that I feel is really the evil side, trying to snuff them out. And so then we have a lot of history to go through and all that area to kind of suss all that out, like who was good, who was bad, who was hiding stuff because they didn't want it getting it snuffed out. So yeah, I think that
it makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder, like, how many flips occurred, or like what if it was the good guy who realized the evil and he had to like destroy the evil one, but then he became the new evil one.
Revolution persists. Time's on my side.